Today I want to talk about fear. And fear is such a big thing in most people's life. And to be honest, I think that fear is ruling most people's life. And it certainly did in my life until I became fully aware of all the shadows, the fears inside of me, not external danger that most people think the fear is, but the subtle fears that are inside and that my mind has tried to keep me from not seeing because my mind wants to protect me, and those fears are there for some reason, some negative event, or some limiting beliefs, or some conditioning by society. But once you realize and you start to dig into these fears and really see them for what they are, illusions, it's possible to become free and just free in this moment, that you have this internal sense of freedom and trust. And this is based on duality. We live in a dualistic world. There is always an opposite. And the opposite of fear, in my perspective, it's trust, love, acceptance. And I think love is probably the best word. And I know people have different opinions and perspectives on the word also. But for me, love means radical acceptance and freedom. And once we are willing to face our fears and let go of the fears and shed light on our fears, we are able to start trusting life again. We start to trust the unknown because we trust that it's good. We trust God, the source, the universe, quantum field, whatever you want to call it, the essence, the source of all creation. And once you get a positive relationship with that, a positive attitude towards that thing that is everything, the all, it will also start to take care of you. And this is what I realized, that once I learned the hard way, really the hard way, the long way, that my internal world and my thoughts, if I consciously start to switch into positive thinking and to seeing things in a positive way, having a positive attitude, things just start to flow. Things start to click. And I just want to share this because I know what it feels like to struggle to live in this anxiety and this worry and shame and guilt and all these things. Once I realized that all of those symptoms was because I was afraid. And when I realized that I was afraid of being judged, I was afraid of being left alone, I was afraid of abandonment, I was scared of so many things, and in particular I was scared of feeling ashamed or feeling guilty. And like when you snap out of it, it's like when people say that you wake up and you realize that those fears were never true. Those fears were only living inside of you, of me. And if they are inside of me, I can change it because that's the only thing I have control over. The problem with this whole illusion is that when you are in a kind of deep state of fear, you think that you need to control the external because you are afraid. Of course, you need to control the external. And I tried to control my partner, I tried to control my kid, and I tried to control everything. And I can tell you, it didn't work out too good. And once I realized, and once I humbled myself, and I broke the kind of illusion of greatness that I had about myself, and I allowed myself to see that, oh, I'm actually just scared. I'm afraid of 100 things. And I sat with that fear. It just popped. And I realized that, wow, this is not it. And yes, I have read a lot of books and all kinds of self-help things. But it was me who made the change. It was me and my internal attitude towards myself and towards life. And it's been a really long process for me. It's been like 8 years. And it feels so good when you realize these kind of breakthrough moments and you're like, wow, I was actually scared. I was reactive because I was scared that something might happen in the future, and that's why I behave that way. And that's another thing, like reactions, they are habits, it's automatic. And if we have lived with certain fears for a really long time, it's gonna take some effort, it's gonna take some energy to change that, because it's like basic physics. Like if a object is in motion, it takes that same amount of energy to stop it or change direction, and so on. So that means if you want to change, and if you want to change your life, if you want to have a better life, you want to be in a more positive state, you want to have a better attitude, it requires some kind of energy. It requires a little bit of effort, a little bit of willpower, and it gets easier. The more you do it, it gets easier because you get proof that it works. And this is why I'm making this video, for you to just start observing. And if you can start observing your thoughts, your patterns, your habits, and your fears, and if you can identify, oh, now the fear came up. Oh, the fear was like, it came with the reaction. And if you're able to stop and create a little bit more space, and you're like, wow, I didn't react. Or maybe you did react. And then you realized a second later, you're like, oh shit, now. And you say sorry for the other person or something. Or you acknowledge it yourself and you're like, oh, I really tried my best. I couldn't hold myself. Next time I'm gonna be even more aware. And the thing is that awareness, it only requires awareness to shed away fear. And especially these conditional fears. We are afraid of what our parents might think, or what our neighbors might think, or what some kind of people in our life might think. And it's like when you realize it, it's just stupid, because everyone has opinions. Everyone talks shit about each other. And it doesn't really matter. And as long as you're trying to please everyone, and you're trying to be the perfect person so that everyone will like you, that means that you've already abandoned yourself. Because by default, by living in a world that is dualistic, that there's good and bad, hot and cold, all this, it's impossible to have everyone like you. And this is where courage comes in. When you dare to actually start following you and your values and living your life, you're gonna upset some people. And once you are fine with that it's their problem, you're not gonna kind of play small because of someone else, and you know who you are, you've gone through the process, you have your values, you have everything dialed in, you know that you are doing the things that you want to do in life. Let them. I'm reading this really cool book by Mel Robbins. It's called Let Them, the Let Them theory, and there's some brilliant stuff in it, and I'm just halfway, but the main point is that you're not responsible for anyone else. You're not responsible for their feelings. You're responsible for yourself. And the paradox here is that when you start to focus on yourself, on how you can be the best version of yourself, you're actually gonna be so much better to all those other people. Because let's face it, no one wants to be controlled. No one likes to be controlled. So our mind somehow thinks that, yeah, but we are an exception. We are the so great or something that, yeah, we can control those others, and they should, we know best, we have this great idea of how things should be. Forget that. And this has been a really big learning lesson for me, because when I realized that, oh, I'm controlling because of fear. I'm afraid that something happens to my kid, or that something happens to my relationship, and I try to control it and steer it and whatever. Well, that ends up in exactly the rocks. And when you start to flow with life, you're like, oh, I'm gonna paddle in this river and try to avoid those rocks, but I'm not gonna tell anyone else on what they're gonna do. People also start to take responsibility for themselves, because you are an example. You are someone who they look at and be like, wow, that was brave, and that seemed to work out pretty well. Maybe I should try it. And I think the biggest problem is that so many people are in fear, and those people who don't work on themselves, they're not self-aware, they don't even have any practices, they don't even want to become more self-aware, they are deeply in fear, they're deeply in their mind, they get triggered by someone who isn't in the fear. They get triggered by someone who is positive, who's in the light, who is in love and acceptance. They're like, no, fuck you. If I need to be here in this shithole, you need to be here too. And that's the thing you have to deal with. But if you get over the initial kind of this like war phase, it gets easier. And then some people start to drop off your life. And then new people start to come in your life that resonate with your new being. So it's so crazy that there's like a million books and a million courses and coaches and stuff like that telling you that you need to change something external. I say, and from experience, when you change from the inside, the internal, the world will follow, your life will follow. And it doesn't happen right away. There's a small delay. But if you start to trust this process and you start to trust that the internal is the motor that sets the stage, that's like the main driver for your life, you will see that you make different choices. You base yourself on your values. You're not feeling guilt for something that you didn't want to do, and there's these huge processes that just changes. And the first thing you need to do is to start identifying your fears. And it may be easier said than done, but at least when you start and you're like, oh, I'm actually afraid of public speaking because I'm actually afraid of being embarrassed, or I'm afraid what they might think, or that. And that doesn't actually matter. When you think about like 10 years ahead, does it matter? Are you still bothered by something that happened 10 years ago? I sure aren't, because why would I? I don't carry the baggage of the past. And only a person who's living in a deep fear needs to carry the backpack of the past. All trauma is based on fear. All trauma, by definition, is that you are afraid of that thing happening again, either externally or internally, that you have to go through the emotions. And yes, that is a big like truth bomb, but it's a fact. And if you can let go of the fear of feeling that, and you can allow that feeling to pass through you, that energy, you release it, you will also be able to let go of trauma. And yes, it might need a lot of conversations, a lot of introspection, a lot of different things like breath work and whatever plant medicines. But the root cause for all of this is fear. And once you realize that, you start your journey to freedom. And also, all limiting beliefs, they are based on fears. They are based on, oh, I can't do that because I have this conditioning. Someone told me that no, because you are this type, you cannot do that, or whatever it is. All limiting beliefs have been decisions stemming from fear. Because in reality, there is no limits. You can do whatever you want. And only you can know what you want. No one else. And that's also when people start to ask advice from other people what they should do. Yeah, maybe you can use it as an awareness tool to get like, oh, and you see me like that. But you have to decide. Once you realize that no one else is gonna come and do that internal work for you, no one else is gonna change your attitude, no one else is gonna make you a more positive person. It's only you. When you realize that, you have already won half of the battle. Because then you realize that, wow, you have so much power when you realize that fear doesn't have a grip. And I know that when you are in this fear state, it's really hard to see these things that I'm talking and sharing with you now, because fears kind of paralyze you. They get you trapped in your mind, and you start overthinking and you start looping things. But if you can remember that every time if you're really afraid, go to sleep, go rest and get your nervous system relaxed, and you will see that your thinking starts to clear. And this is why meditation, and I have this kind of acupuncture mat that I go and lay on, and it works like magic. Every time nowadays, if I catch myself that I'm in fear, the only thing I need to do is get out of that fear state. Because if I start to do things from that state, there's gonna be this fear energy in that thing I'm doing. So, doing things from a place of trust and acceptance and joy is gonna be totally different than a thing that is done from fear. And just to sum this up, the small fears, internal fears, the subtle fears, these are the hardest one to notice. And the modern world is built in a way that we have to go, 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 go. We are tense all the time. We are stressed all the time. We are living in a fight or flight or freeze state all the time. This is why slowing down, just taking it easy, going in nature, like letting ourselves be and find trust in that slowing down, you will see solutions to your problems just by doing that. You will start to see and hear your fears. You will start to be aware that, wow, okay, now I went too fast. Okay, now I'm so pumped up and I'm just, slow down, acknowledge, wow, I went to the fear wagon again. I started running. I started going full speed. Slow down, acknowledge that was fear, and then see when you let that fear go, see what you can do about the situation. I promise you, you will have a great solution. And this is the things that when you slow down, you will start to see these things. And trust me, I know I've been running all my life. I'm 38 now, and I've been running for most of my life out of fear. I I couldn't sit still because no, I don't know what shows up, and there's all kinds of ideas and thoughts, and I need to be busy. I need to be busy because busy feels safe. That's not real safety. You're always addicted to some kind of busyness to feel safe. It's an illusion. Real safety is when you can sit still and trust. Just be. And you know that the higher thing, whatever you want to call it, the source, has your back. When you feel that, there's no space for fear. And I wish that people will get there. And I truly believe, or actually I know that we're heading in that direction. And it feels good to actually conquer your fears. That's gonna be it. I hope you got something out of this video. And yeah, don't let fear ruin your life. You can do so much better. You can do so much more. It only takes courage and trust. Let go of those fears. Let people, let them, whatever. Okay, peace out.